So you're someone who suffers with ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, those type of conditions that make it hard to walk or hard to stand. So I dare say the last thing on your mind is probably going to be what sort of trainers you're wearing. So my whole idea about doing these videos was to help people like us get along in life a little bit easier and to also give you some of the latest information and some more background to ME, chronic fatigue syndrome. So in this video, I just wanted to give you some examples of some of the trainers that I got to make my life a little bit easier. So when it comes to trainers, what you really want to be thinking of is things that help you when you're standing up and when you're walking. Because if you do have ME or chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or the other conditions, then you might know that when you're walking, it feels like you're walking on bricks or sometimes on glass. Your joints hurt, your back hurts. You want to get something that feels good to wear, something that's light and something that's got plenty of cushioning. And that's what I did. I got a couple of different examples. So I just want to go through and to just give you some sort of idea of the type of things that you might want to look at to help you when it comes to standing and walking. Now, like me, some of you have probably been wearing these type of ones. Adidas Samoas. Yeah, really nice, good looking trainer, but they're not very comfy. Not when you've got a condition like ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and the rest of them. So the first one I went out and bought was some of these Adidas Cloudfoam Comfort. What's good about these? Well, they're really light, really light. Now, whereas this version aren't classed as slip-on, you can slip them on. They've got some padding around the heel, which makes it nice and comfortable around your heel as well if you're sensitive to touch. And it also helps keeping your heel in place when you put them on. And it means that the foot's not slipping out. And when it comes to taking them off, they are quite easy to slip out. Now, if you look on the Adidas site, they do talk about like the fabric's more like a sock-like feeling. So it's a better feeling when you've got it on. I suppose it is a little bit true. It is basically a little bit more like mesh. Inside, the sole is a little bit padded, not fantastically, but still good padding all the same. Outside, which is probably what really makes me happy to wear them, is the Cloudfoam, which according to Adidas is an EVA compound. I don't know. There is some grip on the bottom of it. I dare say it is a little bit slippy when it's a bit wet out there or the snow, so I wouldn't recommend obviously wearing them in that. And the fabric, it is very breathable. Downside to that is that if it's windy outside or if it is cold, your feet are going to get cold, and if it is wet, your feet are going to get wet. But the good thing about these is that if you're one of these people who struggles to put your shoes on, you can't bend down, or say with ME, you struggle with your fingers. These trainers are pretty good and you can just slip them on and you don't have to worry about the laces and you don't have to bend down. That said, sometimes when you do actually try and slip them on, this can get a little bit fiddly. Now, I've had those trainers for about a year now. So there is a new version out there where it is just a slip-on version. So if you look out for them, probably a good choice. So the second pair of trainers I went for, Skechers Bounder 2s. Now, I never thought that I'd go out and get some Skechers, but I did. And to be fair, I've got no regrets. Now, the main reason I went for these was because Skechers were always known as being light and they were slip-in versions. And these definitely are slip-in versions. And it says they're ultra light. Yes, they are pretty light. Now, are they lighter than the Adidas? No. Are they a bit sturdier? Yes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If they're slip-ins, does that mean that they slip about whilst you're walking? No, because Skechers have thought about it. Basically, it feels a bit more sturdy around the heel, and there's also a little bit of a lip so that when you do slip your foot in, it keeps it nice and snug together. If you're one of those who suffers from sensitive touch that causes pain, it's quite a lot of padding, so it does feel nice and comfy, and it does hold your ankle in place in there. Another good thing about it is, if it does cause you pain if you're trying to bend down to put your trainers on and you have to fiddle about with your fingers with laces, don't worry about it because these have elastic laces. So you don't have to worry about tying your shoelaces or anything like that, you just slip your foot in. Like Adidas, it is a very soft material on top, so it doesn't feel like it's trying to crush your foot or anything. Downside to it is that in winter it's going to let the cold in, and if there's snow on the ground or if it's been raining, your feet are going to get wet. On the inside, there is quite a lot of cushioning because it's air-cooled memory foam. Nice. Yeah, it does feel really nice when you put your foot in and you are walking around. On the outside, there is just a little bit of grip. Now, they're not meant to be walking around on snow or ice. Soles of the trainers are quite squishy. which is a good thing. And where you're wearing them, you don't really feel like you've actually got them on. A bit like the Cloudfoams. Now, the next ones I went for was the onclouds. Now, onclouds are made with cloud tech. You walk in, it feels like you're walking on clouds. Can't say I'm walking on cloud 9. Sorry. On the inside, it is quite hard. There's not a lot of sponginess to it, and there's no air-cooled memory foam in there like you do get on the Skechers. While not classed as slip-on, these can be slipped on and off, and a bit like the Skechers, it has got a little bit of cushioning along here. It does feel a bit more firmer than the Skechers, but it is quite solid around here. They are a sturdy trainer. The main thing for these was that I got them because they were waterproof. So yeah, you can wear these out when it's winter and when it's raining, obviously. This version was the oncloud Runner 2s. Again, pretty good, not bad at all. A bit more expensive than the others. In fact, probably a lot more expensive than the others, even when they're on sale. And to be honest, oncloud don't do sales that very often, and if they do, it's normally the older sets that they have on sale. Another good thing about them though is that the soles of them, they've got loads of grip. I mean, loads. That might be because the class is a runner shoe. I don't know. So if I gave my decision as best to last, then the last would be, surprisingly, the onclouds. The reason for that is that they do feel a lot more heavier than the other two pairs. Another one is pricing wise, because if you're one of the people who unfortunately can't work anymore, going out and forking out loads of money for trainers isn't probably the top of your list. They're not exactly on special offer that much. Have a look on Amazon, Very, other places like that. You might be able to find yourself a good deal. They're not on sale all that often. I think they're currently being sold on Next, but from what I've seen, it's mostly women's pairs and children's pairs. So if you are going to look at it, I'd have just a quick search on Google. You might find yourself a good deal on there. Sometimes they do have some better deals actually on the oncloud site, and I think if you do sign up as part of their membership, you do get some special offers come through there as well. In second place, this was a little bit harder for me to make a decision on, but I've gone for it and I'm saying it's the Adidas Cloudfoams. Why am I saying that? Because when I did get these, they weren't specifically slip-ons. I think they're great. They are really light. When you're walking, it is really good on your feet. You don't feel like you're walking on glass, and you also don't feel like you've got a couple of bricks strapped to your foot. The thing that does let them down, unfortunately, is the material on it. Like I say, it does let quite a lot of the wind come through. Now, for some of you, that might not matter. For some of you that do suffer with toe pain, especially when it's cold outside, they're probably not the best. Price-wise, they are actually pretty good. They are on sale quite a lot, especially if you go on things like Amazon or Very, Next, all those type of things. Adidas are always doing some good deals, especially if you signed up as a member of their website. But if I do get around to getting a pair where there are slip-ons, because there are some slip-on versions out there, and of the sort where you don't have to worry about the laces, I'll get back to you. So that means the top of the list was Skechers. Now, what's wrong with Skechers? Nothing. It's not a pair that I'd normally go out and get. I am a bit of a brand snob, which is why I'd normally go for Adidas or Adidas, depending where you come from. But yeah, the Skechers have been amazing. Slip them on, it just feels like you've got a sock on. The feel of them, they are really good, especially when walking. They are very light. I think the thing that lets them down more is pricing wise, because I think the Adidas ones are actually cheaper than the Skechers. Some of the reviews I've read before did say that the quality of them isn't that great. They do tend to fall apart. That said, I've had mine for about 8 months now. They're not falling apart, they're actually pretty good. I got mine on sale from one of the outlet stores, so if you are looking for a good deal, have a look on things like Amazon. Skechers do tend to have a sale as well, but if you can still get out and about, go out to the outlet store because they do have quite a lot knocked off them. And not only that, it also means that you can go out and try some pairs on. One of the things with Skechers compared to Adidas is, depending what shoe size you are, you might actually want to try the Skechers on. The reason I'm saying that is because I'm normally about a 10.5, so sometimes I'm a 10, sometimes I'm 11, so I was going for a 10.5. Adidas ones, I'm always fine in. The onclouds, I was fine in. The Skechers, unfortunately, these are a 10.5 USA. UK, they're a 9.5. I can't remember the last time I was a 9.5. So yeah, some of the ones I was trying on in the store, they were like, some had to be a 10, some were a 10.5. I think one of them was even an 11. Whereas these, to actually feel like they weren't going to actually slip off and to make sure that it didn't feel too snug, I had to go for a 9.5. So it might be better if you can get out to a store and you can actually speak to someone in store about what trainers are best probably to look at. They are really good. They're not too pushy. The people there will help you out as best as they can. And they do tend to know quite a lot of stuff about their products. So yeah, to make your life a little bit easier, please do think about what sort of footwear you've got on. It's going to help your feet, your ankles, probably your knees, and your back and your hips. Keep in mind, I am not a podiatrist, I am not a fitness instructor, I'm not a doctor. I'm just like you, just trying things on to make my life a little bit easier with a really crappy disease. So I hope you found it useful. If you do, give us a like or a comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much. Bye bye.